Okay, so I've just finished giving a tour to the UK University Surf Science students. We covered a whole load of information that I thought would be good to share with you guys. So I'm going to run through a couple of questions they asked and show you a bit of a tour of the factory. First question, when was the business opened and by who? So the business was opened in November 2018. Mostly myself as like the primary driving force. I had my dad helping out with the business side of things. My brother was acting as a team rider and helping with the website. Also had a mentor, Steve Hendon, who was helping me show the ropes. Mostly because this was super risky for me to do. At the time of setting up the business, I had only made one surfboard. But I was in a super lucky position where the factory was all set up, ready to go. All I had to do was pay for the rent, tools and materials. And that first surfboard came out okay. So I figured if I could just get enough reps in, we could give it a good go. After the first 6 months, we had enough money in the bank to pay for the next 6 months rent, and that was over 7 years ago. Next question is, does the business have a main ethos? A big thing for us, because we're so brand new to the game, we wanted to go above and beyond for every customer. And that's something we've stuck with to this day. Our primary focus is always to solve that customer's problem in the best way possible. That might mean sending them to a different shop. It might even mean letting them try every single board in our range, only for them to take a photo of the dims and go get a board made somewhere else. So going above and beyond for customers and going a little bit further is always been a main focus. Next sort of thing is getting onto the manufacturing side of things. Something that's super important is always continuously improving. Not settling for good is good enough. Always trying to push that bar just 1% better every single time. For me, I have like this natural sort of curiosity and wanting to understand things, so I'm constantly asking why. And we try to do this with every step all the way, every single time. This way we're always learning, always testing, always experimenting, and we can pass that knowledge learned on to the customer, which ultimately gives them the best result. We try to do this in a super transparent and the most honest way we possibly can. A good example, we often get questions asking about these little bumps and these fishtails. Now, I could come up with some sort of reason that they affect the water flow or whatever. The true, honest reason, and what I tell customers, is I did it because it looks cool. Like, it probably does something, yeah, but the primary focus is it looks cool, looks a bit different. The main point of that being that I'm more than happy being honest, even if it doesn't look the best on our part. Then personally for me, I just want to master this craft and be a true professional and just try and be as best as I possibly can be. I just want to grow the sport as a whole. Next question is, what products do you sell and what services do you provide? When selecting products, performance is always number one. It's got to do that job. Number two, can it be eco-friendly? Now, a great example of that is eco-friendly surf wax. I am all for eco-friendly surf wax, really aligns with our values, great. But I've never had a brand that works really well. It's just never quite as good as Sex Wax, and fundamentally it's got to perform. If it's an eco product that doesn't perform, it's just a bad product. It doesn't matter how eco-friendly it is. In order to make sure everything performs well, we test it ourselves, we give it to our team riders, collect feedback wherever we possibly can, and if we're not happy to use it ourselves, we don't stock it. We don't promote it on Instagram, whatever. We have to be 100% behind it. Now, the reason I say promote on Instagram, we've actually been approached a scary amount of times saying promote our product, but we can't give you it. The only reason we're getting those messages is because there's people out there accepting it, which is crazy. Don't understand it. Anyway, slight tangents. Now, the three products we do stock, which are pretty eco-friendly, is we've got our board backs, which are made out of recycled plastics, our changing rooms with recycled plastic liner, and our leashes, which are made out of recycled plastic. Now, obviously, our main product is our surfboards. Main thing is they gotta perform. We're always testing our boards, testing the different models, getting our team riders on them, testing ourselves, really understanding what they do, and then they gotta be eco-friendly. Ultimately, the most eco-friendly board is gonna be the one that lasts the longest. So we focus heavily on making our boards durable without compromising performance. Exhibit A. Dude, I pulled the wrong board. It scared the crap out of me. I was expecting to pull this board. I pulled the wrong board. Jesus. But yeah, the board is golden. Now, moving on to the services, we've got a whole load of demo boards. Now, the reason why we do this is when growing up surfing, we often bought boards that if we had tried them out, we never would have bought in the first place. So giving people the chance to try the boards allows them to buy with confidence. Really helpful when you're learning to surf and progressing and you want to find that perfect Goldilocks step. This board's too easy, this board's too hard, this board's just right. Really helps progress surfing at a sensible rate. Other thing we do is board repairs. Now, as we've gone all in on epoxy, we've picked a pretty good reputation for epoxy repairs, even branching out to surf life-saving boards, big prone paddle boards and hydrofoil wings and all sorts. So something we do, again, just to go above and beyond, is we scrape off all the old wax and give you a fresh wax job. From a marketing and sales point of view, we could have stripped off the wax and say, oh yeah, look, a brand new clean board. Want to buy some wax? You need to now, right? Great marketing point of view. But that's not us. We want the board ready to go. Joe Bloggs only has a half a bar of wax at best, so it needs to be a fresh wax job ready to go. They can take it straight from here, straight into the sea. That's just one little touch we do that helps go a long way. Next question we got was, does the business do more in-house sales or online sales? Now, when it comes to boards, a lot of it is in-house. We're still a small brand, so people want to get hands-on with the boards. try them out and really get a feel before purchasing. Of course, we do drive a lot of traffic from online, but ultimately they'll come in here to get the sale. Most of our online sales come from things like wax and fins and leashes and all the sort of little accessories that go along with it. With those questions done, let's move through to the CNC room. So this is our CNC machine. This little router spins up and it will sort of whiz around the board and mill it down to the perfect shape. We design all the shapes on the computer so we can make the same board over and over again. Find it really helpful when people try the demo boards. When we want to make a slight little tweak to that exact board, we can bring up the file and make that adjustment. Now the next question is, where do you source your materials, and are any from local providers? Which leads us nicely onto the blank. We get the blank made in the UK, which allows us to have an intimate contact with the manufacturing process, which gives us a really good understanding about the material itself and allows us to tweak different densities, different gassing agents to really get the most out of the material for what we need. At the moment, we get them in big 8-foot blocks, which allows us to cut short boards and boards all the way up to 710. Now the problem with cutting a short board out of an 8-foot block, you get a ton of waste. But because we work with the manufacturer, we're able to send the waste back and get it recycled. So any offcuts, even the dust from the machine, gets sent back to the manufacturer. Now getting the blanks made in the UK was a huge thing for us. Typically blanks get shipped in from America, Africa, Australia, all over the place in big massive containers, which is obviously not great for the environment. To get made in the UK, it's a massive reduction in carbon footprint. The next thing we get made in the UK is our resin. We use Entropy Bio resin, which has got a 29% biocarbon content. We've been using this resin for years and we struggle to find a resin that's better than it. Another thing we get done locally is our decals. We get these printed in Penzance. Try to go local wherever we possibly can. Try to keep it within the UK, but that's not always practical. Sometimes we do have to ship things in, like our fiberglass we get shipped in. That being said, every time we need a resupply, we always see if there's an option within the UK. We're always keeping an eye out, always trying to move forward. Next question is, do you have a main target demographic? So to begin with, we really targeted that beginner, intermediate, progressing down to a shortboard. That's where we found we had the most problems when we were learning to surf. And because of this, a lot of what we do and a lot of our service is really appreciated at that level. So being able to try the board and being able to buy with confidence is a huge deal. And even our free ding repairs, they really appreciate, because they have no idea how to repair boards. Whereas if you're on like a shortboard, bit of Solaris is good enough. That being said, we are looking to expand into the shortboard market. We're setting up a surf team to help build that performance reputation. Let's take you through to the shaping bay. Okay, so this is what the board looks like after the CNC machine. You can see the lines are all left from the router. So all we have to do is flat those off and then shape in the rails. Typically, this is a fairly quick and easy process. There's not too much shaping to do as such. When we're first setting up the CAD files, there might be a few little tweaks we have to do until we eventually get the CAD file really optimized. But apart from that, it's fairly simple to do. Next question, do you have any products or services aimed towards the needs of adaptive surfing? No, just because I don't know what those needs are. I'm pretty ignorant to the whole thing. I would love to help out wherever I can. So if you guys have any suggestions, please drop a comment. I would love to take on an adaptive surfer. It sounds like a super fun challenge. Being able to solve whatever problems they're having in a sort of new and creative way sounds like a super fun thing for me to do, and I am all for it. Next question is, how many staff do you employ? So first of all, full-time is me. I do all the repairs, all the boards, shaping, laminating, sanding, everything, marketing, website, you name it, I pretty much do it. Then I have my dad, helps out with the business side, a bit more B2B, business to business sort of contacts, and helping in buying in materials, that sort of thing. Then we've just taken on a young lad called Sol. He comes in on weekends, helps out with repairs and also editing social media. He's probably editing this video, so say hello, Sol.
No, I don't think I will.
But yeah, that's it for in here. Let's move to the laminating room. So in here is where we add the fiberglass to the board, which is what gives the board its strength. Now, obviously, the more fiberglass you use, the stronger the board, but the heavier the board. When we were designing a board, we aimed to get the weight just under a lightweight poly board. To get a lightweight epoxy board, it's fairly easy and it's good for our team riders, but just to add a couple more layers on top of that, we end up with a super durable board that's still lightweight. Another big thing for us is using resin tints. Now, this allows us to add color to the board without doing any spraying. Obviously, spraying is not great for the environment, so if we can minimize that, that's always a good thing. All our boards are resin finished, there's no lacquer, there's no spraying, really trying to make it as eco-friendly as possible. And the resin tint finish is much better, much more hard wearing, it's not going to scratch off anything like that. Next question, what do you look for in potential employees? Now this is fairly new to us, Sol is really our first employee, so we've not really looked into it. But fundamentally, it's going to depend on the role, but to cover the basics, you're going to be hard working, you've got to love this job, have a passion for surfing or making surfboards. We want you to be creative and curious, wanting to learn, keen to learn. And one thing I've started to notice while taking Sol on is you really need the ability to work independently. So you need to be able to self-motivate and have that self-drive to keep going, doing the unseen work when no one's watching. Another small little thing, when making surfboards, any mistake you make is normally pretty set in resin and you can't change it. So you need to be able to bounce back from mistakes and not carry mistakes into making other mistakes. Like I said, it's still early days and I'm really balancing experience at the moment, whether we want someone with experience or whether we just teach people. The problem with experience is obviously you're going to have some ego with that and not willing to adapt, and that's what I'm really nervous of. The business and the culture I'm trying to grow is a place of growth, and there's no ego there, it's just willingness to learn. So I'm nervous taking on anyone with experience with a low standard and who aren't willing to push that standard higher. But if you're teaching someone, you can teach them to always push that standard. I think there's a bit more room there. Next question, what staff perks are the employees afforded? Now, a big thing for us was having flexible working hours, mostly because going back to, I always ask why, like I don't have a good reason why the soul should come in at 9 o'clock. He does 5 hours on Saturday, 5 hours on Sunday. He can start anywhere between 9 and 1. Like I can't think of a good reason why it should be a set time. So there isn't a set time. The other thing, of course, is being able to make his own boards. We've primarily got him on repairs and social media at the moment, so not really making any boards, but we've given him the opportunity to make his own board. He gets a bit of training, which is good for us, and then he gets a board out of it, so it's good for him. Moving on through to the hot box. This is our hot box, is where we bring the resins in to cure and to dry. With epoxy resin, it really likes to be kept at a stable temperature, and as it's going off, if you can get it really hot, it'll go off faster, which is obviously great for production, but also the faster it goes off, the harder it goes off as well, which is another reason what makes our board super durable. Resin also behaves differently depending on the temperature. So if it's a high temperature, it's really thin. If it's a cold temperature, it's really thick. So having a temperature controlled environment is crucial to getting the most out of resin. Next question, if the surf is good, can you adjust the working hours? Now, for employees, yes, it's something Sol often does, is if the surf's good in the morning, he'll come to work in the afternoon. Surf's good in the evening, I'll come to work in the morning. It's a no-brainer for employees, I'm all for it. However, self-employed like me, it's not quite that simple. In theory, yes, I could adjust the hours. There's no one who's going to tell me no. I'm my own boss. I could do what I want. When the waves get good, I just get busier. We get more orders in, we get more repairs in. So typically I work longer when the waves are good. If I show up at 4 o'clock instead of 6, the next day I'm going to get a phone call from Joe Bloggs saying, hey, is my board ready yet? And then if I'm any kind of a man, I'm going to say no, because I went surfing yesterday for 2 hours. Hope that's okay. That's just not an acceptable answer for me. I'm much happier prioritizing everyone else's surfing over my own. It's just the nature of the beast. Next question, has the business changed in recent years in light of growing green initiatives? The short answer is no. It's just something we've always done. It's in our DNA, it's what we do. We're always pushing that green side of things, trying to go as eco-friendly as possible, always making small improvements wherever we can, but it's not because of any growing green initiatives, it's just what we do. Let's move on to the next room. After the board's been laminated, it comes in here, and this is where we do all the sanding. So we spend way too much time in here and it gets super dusty. Then in here we have our spraying room. Like I said, we don't typically do this for our own boards, so for doing repairs and doing little color matches, this is where it happens. Next question, have you made any changes in recent years to reduce your carbon footprint? Like I was saying earlier, it was a big focus early on from day one, so the recent years have been much more incremental. So for example, upgrading to LED lighting, and more recently upgraded the fans in the sanding bay, so we're not running them as longer and they're much more energy efficient. But probably the biggest change we've done is our ding repair system. Gone from a full paper system to a paperless digital online system, which means we've gone from an A4 piece of paper down to this tiny little slither. So a massive improvement on the amount of paper we use. Next question, what is your primary source of waste and do you recycle, reduce or reuse? So our primary source of waste, pretty much just masking tape, sandpaper, glue roll for de-waxing boards and sanding dust. And of course, resin. Now with our resin waste, we aim to reduce wherever possible. So we weigh out all our resin, make constant notes of how much resin we use with different size boards, different lips, that sort of thing. So we can really minimize the amount of waste we have. The waste we do have, we like to reuse. So for example, we scrape this resin off the floor, and after you drill a few holes in it, you can get some pretty cool little key rings. We also get these big old blocks, which we actually sold the last one to a jewelry maker. The other thing we try and do is reuse old pots. So this is an old ice cream pot. We use yogurt pots. Then once you get a good enough buildup, you can actually crack these out and scrape them out and reuse them. Sometimes that causes them to split. So if you just wrap a load of masking tape around them, good to go again. So we really try to milk the use out of them wherever we can. And then a big thing as well is with our own boards, we get free ding repairs with all our boards. So that helps maintain our boards at a professional level. It means they're going to last a super long time and all being well shouldn't end up in landfill. Right, last stop, it's up to the showroom. So this is our showroom. So this is where we have all our stock boards. So typically we like to experiment with different designs. We've got 24 karat gold surfboard there, no big deal. We made that back in lockdown, but we raised £4,000 for the NHS. Problem is I was nervous about surfing it, so I didn't want to surf it because it was really expensive, didn't want to delam. So I made a copper board with the idea, we'll surf that one. and then made that and it looked too good, so haven't surfed that one either. In general, we like to experiment with different designs, give the customers an idea of the sort of things we can do, give them an idea of the sort of things they can have on their own personal board, that sort of thing. Last question, does the business engage with the local community in any way? We work with a couple of surf schools, Harlan Surf School and Stoked in Perranporth. And in Morganporth, we work with Betty's Surf Shop and King Surf. We provide them with boards, they hire them out, we get a little bit of a kickback from that, they get a kickback too, get a bit of brand awareness, that sort of stuff. Ultimately growing both businesses, trying to help build the community. The other thing I mentioned earlier is we've started up a surf team, taking on some team riders, really trying to support them. And we want to introduce a level of professionalism into competitive surfing. Like I said, being a pro, if that's my one job to go into competitive surfing as a team, how would I do it? We'd have a full team backing, we'd have sponsors, we'd get everyone involved at every event possible. Ultimately, I'm looking at like Formula One team where you've got individuals competing as well as teams, and that's what I'd love to see within the UK scene. Try and take a bit more professionalism into the game, going a little bit against the grain. Typical surfers are laid back, chilled dudes, beard and flip-flops, just chilling. It's going to be difficult, it's not going to be easy, but that's where I'd like to take it, try and set the standard, what I'd like to see within the surf community. That's also something I do every time I go to the beach. The reality, it's a very small community. If I go down to the beach, there's a good chance that I'm gonna get recognized. Not because I'm famous and everyone knows me, it's just because just the nature of the beach. I just need to be aware that whenever I go outside, especially on the beach, especially carrying a surfboard, I'm representing myself, my business, the community as a whole, shapers, board designers as a whole. So I need to do that, like I said, at a professional level. If that was my one job to represent the community, how would I do it? Being friendly, uplifting people, picking up rubbish, just trying to be just a good person. I just want to represent this craft as best I possibly can, introduce a bit of professionalism and just see how far we can take it. And yeah, that's a wrap. So you've seen the factory, you know a bit more about us now, and hopefully that's given you a better understanding. Got any questions, drop a comment or send us a message.